In 2011, astronauts Brian, Jocinda, and Marcus are on a mission to repair a satellite in space. Things are going smoothly until a mysterious black swarm appears out of nowhere, zooming toward their shuttle. The swarm strikes them hard, causing chaos. Marcus's safety tether snaps and he starts drifting away into the vastness of space. Brian tries desperately to save him, but as he reaches out, the shuttle pulls back his own tether, and Marcus floats out of reach. Helpless and heartbroken, Brian returns to the shuttle only to find the systems failing. Unknown to him, the swarm slips into a hidden hole on the moon. Back on Earth, Brian lands the shuttle safely and is hailed as a hero for surviving such a dangerous event. But when he tries to tell the story of the strange swarm, no one believes him. With Jocinda knocked unconscious during the incident, she can't confirm his story. After a lengthy investigation, NASA blames Brian, labeling it as human error, and fires him. Struggling, Brian loses his job, his house, and soon after, his family moves in with his wife, Brenda's mother. Brian's life falls apart. Fast forward 10 years, and we meet K.C. Hausman, a janitor at the University of California. But K.C. is far from an ordinary janitor. He's a space enthusiast with wild theories about the moon. K.C. sneaks into professors' offices to use their computers, pretending to be an expert. One day he contacts an observatory in Chile, using a fake identity to get data on the moon's orbit. Later, while working his shift at a fast food joint, he checks the observatory's email and makes a shocking discovery. The moon is veering closer to Earth. Desperate to alert NASA, K.C. tries every phone number he can find, but no one takes him seriously. Meanwhile, Jocinda, now a high-ranking NASA official, is called into work early one morning. Her team shows her that the moon's orbit is off and something strange is coming out of a crater on the moon's surface. It's the same mysterious black energy that Brian encountered years ago. Frustrated that no one will listen, K.C. notices in the newspaper that there's an astronaut event at a local museum. He decides to go there and share his findings with anyone who will listen. Once he arrives, a group of kids on a school trip mistakes him for the guest speaker. K.C. uses this moment to explain his wild theory. He believes the moon is actually a giant structure built by aliens and hollow inside. The actual speaker for the event is Brian, who's now struggling to get by and living under a mountain of unpaid rent. He's woken up late by his landlord pounding on the door, so he escapes through a window and hurries to the museum. When Brian arrives, he sees K.C. trying to rally a crowd with his theory. Annoyed, Brian has security kick K.C. out, but K.C. manages to throw his research papers at Brian before leaving. Curious, Brian later digs the papers out of the trash, realizing K.C. may be onto something. Days later, Brian's son Sonny is arrested after a wild police chase, and Brian's attempts to defend him only make things worse. During a visit to his mother in a nursing home, K.C. vents his frustrations about no one listening. She gently encourages him to keep trying before her memory fades completely. Soon, NASA makes a public announcement. The moon's orbit is unstable, and debris could fall to Earth in 3 weeks. People panic. Mass evacuations and chaos erupt worldwide. NASA sends a mission to investigate, but when the shuttle approaches the strange hole on the moon, the same black swarm attacks, destroying the shuttle and killing the crew. Brian watches the news, stunned. He realizes K.C. might have known about the moon's secret all along. Determined to find out more, Brian tracks K.C. down at a hotel, where he's holding a meeting with a small crowd of conspiracy theorists. Interrupting, Brian convinces K.C. to share his findings. K.C. explains that he's been searching for megastructures, giant hollow spaces built by advanced civilizations, and believes the moon is one of them. Something must have happened to the moon's core, causing its orbit to shift toward Earth. Meanwhile, storms and massive tides are wreaking havoc on Earth's coastal cities as the moon's pull grows stronger. Floodwaters hit the hotel where K.C. is holding his meeting, trapping the attendees. Brian and K.C. rush to help people escape. K.C. is nearly swept away by the flood, but Brian dives in to save him. Back at NASA, Jocinda reviews footage from the moon mission and realizes the swarm is some sort of intelligent AI. She's promoted to deputy director as her boss quits in a panic. With newfound clearance, Jocinda accesses classified footage from her own mission with Brian years ago, confirming that the same swarm was responsible for the past attack. She's soon approached by a former NASA official named Holdenfield, who might hold the key to understanding what they're dealing with. Brian, Jocinda, and K.C. now face an incredible challenge: to uncover the truth about the moon and save Earth before it's too late. In 1969, when Apollo 11 landed on the moon, something happened that NASA never revealed. For 2 minutes, Mission Control cut off the live feed, claiming they lost contact. But the real reason was far stranger. The astronauts had seen bright, pulsing lights beneath the moon's surface. NASA, realizing this was some kind of advanced technology, decided to keep it secret. The only possible plan they had to deal with it was a military project called Zulu X-ray 7, but it had been shut down due to lack of funding. Now Jocinda, a NASA official, is facing a crisis. The moon's orbit is getting closer to Earth, and a powerful AI swarm has emerged from beneath its surface. She contacts military leaders hoping they'll work with her on a plan, but they refuse and insist it's their operation now. They're planning to use nuclear weapons, but Jocinda knows that would be catastrophic, releasing deadly radiation across the planet. She pleads with her ex-husband, General Doug Davidson, to consider an alternative plan, one that involves the Zulu X-ray 7. Doug finally agrees to lend the equipment on the condition that Jocinda and their son Jimmy come stay with him for safety after the launch. Jocinda agrees, determined to do whatever it takes. Meanwhile, Brian, a former astronaut, is picked up by the military in a helicopter and brought to join the mission. He insists that his friend KC, a self-taught space expert, comes along as well. When they arrive at NASA, Jocinda fills them in. The AI swarm can detect Earth's technology, so they need Brian, who once landed a shuttle without power, to pilot the shuttle. He agrees, but only if his son, Sonny, is released from jail and allowed to stay safe at the station. To prepare, they retrieve a retired shuttle from a museum to carry the electromagnetic pulse, EMP device from the Zulu X-ray 7 project. But things are already falling apart on Earth. Earthquakes and volcanic eruptions are happening worldwide due to the moon's proximity. The military trains Brian to activate the EMP, and he shares his plan. Since electronics attract the swarm, he'll fly manually using only thrusters and hand calculations. Just as the crew is ready, a massive earthquake damages the shuttle. With an engine out, launching seems impossible. Jocinda reluctantly dismisses the team to be with their families. But before she leaves, she finds KC deep in calculations. KC suggests a daring plan. If they launch just as the moon passes directly overhead, they can use its gravity to give the shuttle an extra boost, compensating for the broken engine. Most of the team has left, so Brian, Jocinda, and KC decide to go alone. They say quick goodbyes to their families. Sonny, Brian's son, is leaving with his mom Brenda, her husband Tom, and Jimmy. Before the journey, Brian hands Sonny a gun, just in case. As the shuttle prepares for launch, a giant gravity wave floods the base. Brian expertly maneuvers the shuttle out just in time, using the moon's pull to lift them into space. Once in orbit, they refuel by drawing from a satellite, while KC, thrilled, takes selfies with Earth in the background. As the moon looms closer, Brian shuts down all electronics and manually guides the shuttle, dodging debris from the moon's crust along the way. Meanwhile, Sonny, Michelle, the family's nanny, and Jimmy are on the road but get ambushed by armed looters who steal their Jeep and Jimmy's phone. Thankfully, Sonny hides the gun and soon leads them to his mother's house to find another car. The moon's close orbit is causing chaotic weather, forcing them to hide in a small shack until the storm passes. Later, they finally make it to a private neighborhood where Brenda lives, but are almost shot by nervous residents guarding their homes. Tom rescues them and takes them inside, only for them to hear another announcement. Everyone in the area needs to evacuate immediately. They grab oxygen tanks from a fire station to prepare for atmospheric changes that are making it hard to breathe. In space, Brian reaches the moon and unloads the EMP device, intending to lure the swarm. But instead of heading toward the EMP, the swarm zooms straight for the shuttle, seemingly attracted to something else. Realizing it might be the remote control, Brian smashes it, but the swarm keeps coming. Then it hits him. It's Casey's phone the swarm is detecting. Brian quickly destroys the phone, and the swarm moves away. Jocinda then realizes the swarm's behavior. It's programmed to target living organisms when they're surrounded by electronic signals. With little time left, she concludes they have to fly the shuttle directly into the moon to detonate the EMP from within. They have only 2 hours before the military launches nukes as a last resort. Back on Earth, Sonny, Jimmy, and Michelle finally find refuge at Brenda's house, but they soon need to leave. They encounter the looters again, but this time Sonny uses his gun to take one of them hostage. They manage to take oxygen tanks, recover Jimmy's bag, and drive off in Tom's car, preparing to survive whatever happens next. After retrieving the EMP device to destroy the AI swarm, Brian, Jocinda, and KC fly the shuttle through a hole on the moon's surface, hoping to locate the swarm. Inside, they find proof that KC's theory is true. The moon isn't a natural satellite at all. It's a massive, ancient megastructure built around a power core. As they prepare to throw the EMP at the swarm, the shuttle suddenly loses control and begins moving on its own. The swarm nearly catches them. But just in time, a door opens, a light pulls the shuttle inside, and the door seals behind them, leaving the swarm outside. The landing is rough, and the shuttle is destroyed. The team falls unconscious. But eventually, the shuttle door opens, and a strange light scans over them. Back on Earth, things are getting worse. Sonny and his family are in a dangerous chase with armed robbers, dodging gunfire and chunks of falling debris from the moon. Sonny manages a daring leap over a crater, leaving the chasers behind as they're hit by debris or fall into the crater. Just as they think they're safe, Sonny's family gets a call from Doug, who warns them that the military is launching nukes soon, so they'll have to find shelter on their own. As oxygen levels begin to drop, they put on oxygen masks and continue on foot. Inside the moon, Jocinda and KC wake up, realizing they can breathe and there's gravity here. But Brian is nowhere to be seen. They see a door open and decide to go through it, despite KC's suspicions. Jocinda believes that two different forces are in this moon, one that wants to help, and the other, the swarm, which is a threat. Meanwhile, Brian awakens in a strange room surrounded by white light. He soon realizes he's communicating with a friendly AI entity inside the moon, which takes the form of his son, Sonny, to communicate with him. The AI explains that billions of years ago, the ancestors of humanity lived on a faraway planet, thriving with technology beyond anything Earth has seen. But their AI eventually became self-aware, transforming into swarms of nanotechnology that began hunting all biological life. To survive, these ancestors built giant ships like the moon to escape, hoping to find a new home. Earth, with its perfect conditions, became that place. The moon's AI, the same one now speaking to Brian, needs help to lure the swarm away from the power core, so the moon can return to its orbit. Brian is freed from the strange light and reunites with Jocinda and KC, filling them in on what he learned. The AI has repaired the shuttle and enhanced the EMP to ensure it can destroy the swarm. However, time is running out. Nukes are set to launch in just 10 minutes, so they have to act fast. On Earth, Sonny's family struggles. Tom, realizing his oxygen tank is empty, gives his tank to his daughter and encourages her to keep going. As she joins her family, Tom quietly stays behind and passes away. The family notices he's missing, and Sonny goes back to search for him just as oxygen starts returning. However, the moon's closeness causes massive debris to fall, and Sonny is trapped under a fallen tree. Michelle races back to free him, using the moon's gravitational pull to lift the tree just enough for Sonny to crawl out. Together, they hurry back to join Brenda and the girls, jumping over a damaged bridge as the moon looms overhead. All around the world, cities crumble under the moon's intense pull. The military decides it's time to launch the nukes, but at the last moment, Doug stops the order, choosing to trust Jocinda instead. His decision is costly. The bunker he's in collapses due to falling debris. Inside the moon, Brian executes a daring plan, piloting the shuttle through tunnels with the swarm close behind. He instructs KC to prepare the EMP in the rover, planning to sacrifice himself by staying behind to draw the swarm in while Jocinda and KC escape. But KC, unwilling to let Brian sacrifice himself, locks himself inside the rover with the EMP, volunteering to be the one who stays behind. He says his goodbyes, asking them to tell his mother he was a hero, and admits he isn't really a doctor. Brian, though, calls him Doctor as a sign of respect. The swarm surrounds the rover, and when KC is deep enough inside, he detonates the EMP, destroying the swarm. Jocinda manages to land the shuttle back on Earth, which is easier now because the moon is so close. With the swarm gone, the moon gradually returns to its original orbit and Earth's weather starts to stabilize. When Jocinda and Brian step out of the shuttle, they find New York in ruins, blanketed in snow. Military helicopters arrive to pick them up, and soon they are reunited with their families. Meanwhile, inside the moon, KC finds himself conscious and in the presence of the friendly AI, which appears to him in the form of his mother. The AI explains that it has preserved a copy of his mind. Now KC is part of the moon. He will work with the AI to help rebuild and protect the future. Through bravery, sacrifice, and a bit of help from ancient technology, humanity is saved, and Earth gets another chance at peace. And you, my friend, get another chance at an interesting story. Just click on the videos on the right, drop a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this recap. Grab your popcorn, enjoy yourself, and see you soon, my friend.